Welcome back to the channel, and this is going to be our continuation of creating this one. So if you haven't watched the first video, it'll be linked at the end of this one, but that one was done in AutoCAD. This one is going to be done in AutoCAD as well, but we're going to be doing this in 3D. All right, so let's go ahead and start breaking this down. So before I get started, I have two different approaches to how I'm going to do this. And both of these views that I have here are going to be relevant, right? Now, I can create this using 3 parts, and that's going to be the minimum approach that I'm going to do, and I will show you that. But you can see here is that this is going to be my first part here. So, I'm kind of tracing this out. Really nice and simple, right? And sorry for my kind of shape there, but that's going to be part number 1. That's easy enough to draw. The second parts that I'm going to need, and I have to decide how I'm going to approach this, is that I have 2 cylinders here, right? So if you know that we create things in AutoCAD or even in Inventor for that, and we're creating these 3D models, this can be done simply with just 2 cylinders and then me extracting or subtracting this middle cylinder, from the inside of it, right? So I can go ahead and do this and get rid of this middle one, and then that'll create this top one. And then here on the bottom, I can kind of approach this in 2 different ways. So I can either revolve this, or I can create a multiple cylinders and kind of join them together and then subtract them, right? So I'm going to approach this, and I'm just going to create this view here, and I'm just going to put a circle around it here. And I'm going to create this part here. And I do have to have a center line, so I'm going to need this line here as well. And then I can revolve this in order to get this shape here. Or we can look at the cylinders here, and let me go ahead and change my pen here. And I can create, basically 2 cylinders that go here. Oh, sorry for that. And then I can come back and I can create a cylinder that would go here on the inside of here. And then finally I can have this last cylinder. So what I'm going to show you here when we get in AutoCAD is I'm going to do this both of those ways, right? And they're both going to be nice and simple approaches to it. So I'm thinking here in my head is that when I approach this one way, and no matter which option, I'm going to create this 2 different ways. But the first option is that, so I'm going to always create this as my first part. And I think when I create doing both of these shapes, I'm going to create one with a revolve, with using both of these as a revolve, and then the second one I'm going to create it with cylinders. So I'm going to give you 2 different methods of how to create this, just kind of depending on how your mind is thinking about it. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and jump over to AutoCAD and go ahead and get started on this. Okay, so let's go ahead and do our normal stuff that we usually do here. We'll go ahead and turn the grid off, and we'll click that button here. We'll go ahead and put our ortho on. We'll go ahead and take a look at what O-snaps that I have turned on. And then I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the 3D modeling. So I'm just going to use the 3D modeling one here. Go ahead and give it a second. Your ribbon should switch and you should get another dialog box. So, and once again, I want to thank you for those of you who are tuning in and watching these videos. I really do appreciate it. And it's inspiring me to do more, right? So thank you for, at least coming back and looking at these videos. And I hope that you're gaining some of the experience from it. Okay. So this first method that I'm going to approach is I'm going to approach it by looking at doing these cylinders, right? So I'm just going to make a bunch of cylinders, and that's what we're going to use to create this. Okay, so I'm going to start off by creating circles, and when I'm saying cylinders, they're just going to be nothing more than the extruded circles. And I'm going to start off with my circle here that has a diameter, and I'm just going to hit D-enter and tell it that I have a diameter of 34. And then I'll go ahead and create all the other circles, right? So I'll create another circle here from this center. And if you go back and watch that first video, I do show you a shortcut method of doing these, but I'm just going to go ahead and do them the old way here. This has a diameter of 43. I'll go ahead and hit the enter button to take me back to the command. I'll select this center here, type D, enter. The next one should be 55. And then finally, I have one more, so I'll just hit the enter button, go find the center, click here. Kind of give myself a preview, type in D, enter, and then the last one here is going to be 64. Okay, let's escape out of that. Let's draw a line right from here, going straight up, a distance of 75. So this looks exactly like what I was creating here when we did this in 2D. Let's go back to the circle command. So just to speed things up, I'll type in C, enter. Let's go and click on this endpoint, give myself a preview, type in D, enter, and then 20, enter. Hit enter again. That takes me back to the last command. I'll go to that endpoint, give myself a preview, type in D, enter, and then 38. All right. Lastly, I just need to go ahead and put those two fillets on the outside of here. So I'm just going to type in F, enter. That F stands for fillet. R, enter. That's going to give me my radius. 64, enter. And I have multiple, so I'm just going to hit M, enter. Right. All of this stuff can be done down here at the command line, but I'm just going to type them in just to kind of speed things up. Okay. So now I have everything that I need, and I just deleted that center line, to create the shape that I want. So I'm going to use the boundary command to get some of the stuff that I need. So for example, I need this shape here, this weird shape on the inside. So I'm going to use the boundary command like I said. Simply BO, enter. The reason why I'm using the boundary command, because one of the options on the inside of it has a polyline. So it's going to create a polyline. So I'll just select here, pick points, click here, hit enter. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this, and then I'm just going to simply move it, right? So here's my first shape here. All right. So that was my, major complex shape. Now I'm going to start copying things that I'm going to need to create my next two shapes. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select these two circles, and I'm just going to copy them, right? And let's see, copy is here, click here. I'm going to turn off my ortho just so I can place these in different locations. Okay. So that's one of my kind of rings or cylinders, I should call them. And then I can go these two circles. Just going to copy these. And let's go ahead and place them here. And then finally, I'm going to select these two. I'm going to copy these and place them here. Okay. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and then I want to go ahead and copy this top one here. So I'm just going to do that exact same step here. I'm going to select both of these. I'll go to copy, click here, and then place it here. Okay. So from this point, everything that I need to do is done, right? I have all of the cylinders that I need. I just need to know the distances and things of that nature, what I want to create these with, right? And I'm going to show you how to do that. So first, let's go ahead and move this shape here and kind of get it out of the way, as I'm going to use it for the next piece. So I'm just going to go ahead and move this to the side. Okay. So what we have here is just these shapes. Let's go ahead and put this in an isometric view to give myself a look at it, right? So just by clicking that corner here, and it should rotate the screen here in a second. Looks like my computer is running a little slow today. Come on. And we'll try it again here. Let's see if it's kind of speeding up some stuff now. Okay. I was able to close some stuff and kind of speed things up. All right. So now if we refer back to the drawing, or if you remember that this had a distance of 10, right? So I'm just going to extrude this one. I'm going to come down and give it a height of 10. Okay. So there's my first shape. That's the easy one. Let's go ahead and take a look at the top one here. This has a distance of 30, and I will refer back to the drawing here in a second just to show them to you. And I do have them open here at the top. So where I'm getting these values from is that here's that 10 that I was talking to you about earlier. And then this 30 here is going to be this shape here along the top. So those are the two numbers that I'm using right now. Let's go ahead and click back to here. Let's go ahead and use the extrude command. I'm going to select both of these, hit enter, kind of come down or go up either direction. It doesn't matter. Type in 30. All right. Now keep in mind that both of these are two cylinders that are together. So if I go ahead and switch this over to shades of gray, and I can kind of work in shades of gray for the rest of this, you see that I do have a cylinder inside of a cylinder. So let's go ahead and subtract this one, right? So I'm going to use subtract, select the object you want to keep first, go ahead and hit enter, and then you got to get to that middle cylinder there. So go ahead and click that and hit enter. All right, so now I have that one with a hole in it. Now it's time to start working on these shapes, right? So here's my biggest one, my middle one, and then my bottom one here. So let me jump back over to the drawing here just to show you what I'm looking at. So I'm going to start off with this big one here. And if you come down here at the bottom, you see that that has a distance of 30, right? My inside one is going to have a distance of 25. I have a 30 minus the 5, so that distance from here to here is 25. So I'm going to extrude that one a height of 25. And then finally, I have one that's sitting at 45. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump back and do that real quick here. And then we're going to go ahead and use the extrude command. I'm going to select both of these objects, hit enter. Remember that this is my big one here. And I'm going to give this a height of 30. Now, I really didn't have to keep this center circle on the inside of this one because they're going to be joined together, but I like to do it that way just so I can keep everything, together, if that makes any sense, right? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and knock out that step. And what this is basically representing, and now that I think about it, this inside line, actually, I can extrude it down a height of 5 just to go ahead and get rid of that cutaway through it. But I'm just going to go ahead and union these together. So I'll go to union, go ahead and select here, and go ahead and make them both the same. Now what I was meaning by that is that I can go ahead and kind of shorten that step off by taking this one here and then extruding it down a distance of 5, right? And that's going to give me that offset that I'm going to use. So what I mean now is just go ahead and do it. I'm just going to go ahead and move, go ahead and find the center here, click that center, and then go up to the center here and click on that center. Right? If I use the extrude command from here, and I can select just that circle, right? And sometimes it gets a little hard to select just, these little common objects. I can use a window and kind of put it around it, and that's going to be the easiest method there. Or you could switch to a wireframe. Go ahead and hit enter. Send it down this direction so I see it showing through. Remember on our drawing, that one has a height of 25, but in our case, it's going to be a, distance of 5 because that's what I'm going to subtract from this. Then let's go ahead and take a look at the subtraction. So subtract, select the object you want to keep first, which is this outside, hit enter, and then I need to find that cylinder on the inside. So I'm kind of moving my cursor around to only that shows. I'll do a left click there, and sometimes it will grab both of them. If it does that, go ahead and hit the escape button. I'm going to try this one more time and then I'll switch back to wireframe if this doesn't work. So I'll go ahead and use a subtract, select the outside. That's the object I want to keep. And then it selected that part on the inside. And I'll hit enter. So now you see that now I have that drop down that's going in between it, right? So that's 2 parts that I have created. Let's go ahead and delete that piece there. Now I'm going to grab this part of it, right? This one, I do want to keep it in this extrusion or this form here because I'm going to use both of these circles. So I'm just going to use the extrude command. I'm going to select this one, hit enter, kind of go up this height, and remember that height was sitting at 45. I'm going to use the move command. I'm going to select both of these cylinders, hit enter. I'm going to go find the center here at the bottom and go place it at the center here on this bottom, right? All right, so now I have to use 2 parts on here. The first one I'm going to union. I'll go ahead and select this outside ring here. And then I'll select this part here. So these 2 I want to union together. I'll go ahead and hit enter. You can see I kind of get that line that's showing in there. And this is what I mean by that part there. And then after I union them, I'm going to follow this with a subtraction. So I'll go to subtract. I'm going to select this object here. Go ahead and hit enter. Find that cylinder and go ahead and hit enter. Okay. So now all of these shapes are done. Let's go ahead and put it all together. So I'm just going to use the move command. I'm going to select this one, hit enter, go find the center, which is located here at the bottom. I'm going to use this bottom center, and then I'm going to place it at this bottom center. I'm going to do the exact same thing here at the top. I'm just going to go to the move command, select here, hit enter, go find that bottom center, and then this one, make sure that you do find the bottom center. It's going to be 2 centers that's going to show up. So there's the first one. And then there's the second one. So make sure you find the bottom one. Go ahead and click there. Then I can use my move gizmo, which is already set here. I can select this object here, select this purple or blue icon, come up, type in 10, hit enter, escape from this, and now union all of this together. So I'm going to go to union, put a window around all of this, go ahead and hit enter. And all of this now should be one shape. last thing I need to do is get this around to the right orientation, right? So I would usually like my isometrics to sit by selecting the front here and then this icon here. So I need this to stand up, right? The front view needs to be facing up at me. So I'm just going to select here. I'm going to switch over to the rotate gizmo. I select this red axis and I just want to stand it up, right? So this is where I want to put my ortho back on. Just going to come up this direction, do a left click, hit escape. So now I have my front, right side, and my top view, right? So that was just using nothing but cylinders, okay? Now for the next step, what you're going to see me do is work with using revolve, right? So let's go ahead and jump over here. So I'm just going to go ahead and click back on the top view. And then I'm going to come back to this view here, because this is the one that we started everything with, right? So I'm going to do the exact same thing to get this shape here on the inside. Remember, we used the boundary command, so that's just BO, hit enter. Wait for the dialog box to appear. Go ahead and select the pick points. And then select right on the inside of here. Go ahead and hit enter, right? So I have that shape. Let's go ahead and move this over. Select it and hit move. And the reason my gizmos is coming up is because I'm in the shades of gray. If we go back to wireframe, 2D wireframe, we won't get any of those gizmos to appear. All right. Next, I'm going to start working on how I can get my revolve done, right? Okay. So the way that I'm going to do this is going to use some construction lines. Remember, construction line is here, or you can type in XL. That's the same thing for construction lines, and I think I'll type that in this time. So XL, hit enter. I'm going to use horizontal. I'm going to put one through the center here. And then I can decide, do I want to work on the top or bottom? Since it's going to be close to that one, I think I'll go here at the bottom. So I'll click here, here, just kind of work all of these quadrants. Okay, let's escape out of that. Let's draw a vertical line here. So I'm just going to use L, enter. Draw a line going straight down to here. I'll go ahead and select this line. Go ahead and use the copy function. Click here. I'm going to aim this direction, and I'll type in 45, hit enter. Then I'll type in 30, enter. And then I'll type in 25, enter. Okay, let's escape out of here. And now we're ready to start doing some of this good old trimming function, right? To get all of this stuff set up the way we need it. So let's go ahead and use trim. And we know that all of these lines are going to go away, so I'm just going to go ahead and wipe out those lines here. All of the ones here at the bottom, I'll go ahead and wipe those out. And then I'm going to also wipe them out right in between here as well. Okay? Let's go ahead and work a little bit more with this. Let's go ahead and get rid of these front lines here. And these ones in the back. Okay. And I should really extend these lines because they're actually going to, this line is going to go forever. So what I'm going to do is just hold down the shift button. Click on this line and then this one. And then I'll let go of the shift button and I'm just going to trim these two lines off. And then trim off these lines, right? I do need that center part that's going through there. All right. So now we got to develop how the things look going through here. So what we have here is that we have these two lines are there, right? This shape should come around and then I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of these two lines. Okay. Now it comes around and it goes all the way to this point. So I'm just going to trim off here as well as here. Okay. And I'm working with this. I'm just going to trim this off as well. Looks like we do have our shape here. I'm just going to trim off these two. And then that portion, right? So that's going to be what I need to revolve going around this. Let me escape out of this, zoom out, and then I'll delete these lines here, right? So that's what I need to revolve around here. If we go ahead and take a look back at the drawing, you're going to see that that is the hatch shape that we did from before. So when we created that 2D, that hatch shape is what I'm going to need in order to create this revolve. Jump back over to here. Remember, the most important step is select this and then join it together. So J, enter. You need this to be one polyline. So we have that at the bottom. Let's go ahead and take a look at here at the top. So what I'm going to do here is the exact same thing, right? We can use a construction line. So XL, hit enter. Go from the center. Then go ahead and click on this quadrant here. Oh, hit escape. I'm sorry. I forgot to tell it horizontal. Go ahead and delete that. Let's go back to the XL command. So XL, horizontal, find the center, Click on that quadrant and then that quadrant. Let's go ahead and hit escape. Drew a line. So we're just going to make a vertical line going straight here. We can use offset since it's just one number. So I'm going to offset 30, enter. Send it going this direction. And now we're ready to do our trimming, right? So we're just going to trim. Just take away all of this and then all of this. All of this part. And then all of this part and right in between here as well. Let's escape from here. Select this, join this together, zoom out, then we're going to delete this. Okay, so now we have this ready to create our three-dimensional shape here. I'm going to go ahead and look at this in an isometric view again. We're going to switch over to shades of gray so we can see everything that is happening. So I'm just going to select here in the drop down, go to shades of gray. Use the revolve command this time, so I'm going to revolve. I'll select this shape here, hit enter. Now I'm going to select the two endpoints on this line here. So there and there. And go ahead and hit enter. Okay. Do the exact same thing again. So I'm going to use revolve. I'm going to select this shape here. Hit enter. The axis that I need to spin this around is going to be that endpoint to this one. And hit enter. Because it's going to go 360 degrees. And then I have another shape that's right in between there. And you can kind of barely see it. But I'm going to go and select the extrude command. Select this one here, hit enter, send it down going 10. Okay, so now we have all of our shapes. This is where understanding the rotate gizmo gets really kind of interesting. We have some lines of revolution there, and those lines will stay there. So I'm just going to select them both and delete them. I'm going to start off by this shape here. I'll select this green axis, and I just want to stand this one up here. Let's escape out of here. Do the exact same thing on this one. So I'll select this one. And it looks like it went the other way. I'll come down this way. Okay. Now I'm going to start lining everything up, right? So I'm going to select this one. And let's go ahead and move this first. And I'm just going to kind of get it away from this shape. As well as this one at the bottom. I just want to move them away so we can do the exact same thing we did before. Now I'm going to move this shape. Go find that bottom center, which is here. And remember that we're looking for two centers over here. Once I find that second center, and let me zoom in just so you can see them. There's the first one. If I move my cursor down here a little bit further, it should find that other center. Then I'm going to click on that center. Same thing here on the bottom of this one. So I'm going to select it and go to move. I'm going to find this bottom center here. And then I'm just going to go find the center that's located on here. Now, sometimes you can't see them. And that's perfectly okay. I kind of seen them here in the background here. And they did show up and you could see them down here. And I can go ahead and select it here. All right. So remember that you want to make sure that these look correct here. And what I mean by that is if I select on the top view, you can see that it did make that shape that I'm looking for, right? You can see it's all tangent out. Let's go ahead and click back to here. What I'm going to do next is go ahead and move this shape going up a distance of 10. So let's go ahead and switch to our move gizmo. Select that shape there. Go ahead and click on that purple or blue axis there. Type in 10, hit enter. Escape. Let's use the union command like we did before. So union. Go ahead and put a window around this. Hit enter. We have it in our isometric view. So now we just need to rotate this thing standing up, right? So let's go ahead and click on the rotate gizmo. Select here, select the red axis, and stand it up like so. Okay, so either one of these should work fine for you. Let me go ahead and erase these shapes here on the side. And then we can take a look at both of these, right? So we do have both of them drawn. It doesn't matter which one of these shapes or however you did it. I just wanted to give you a different variety on how to create them, right? So let's go ahead and jump over and take a look at doing the 2D portion of this. And I'm just going to go to the layout tab here. And then I'll go ahead and delete this viewport. Now I'm not going to do anything fancy. You can go ahead and refer back to the 2D drawing that I did. All I'm just going to do is create a quick title block on this one, and then we'll put the dimensions on it. Okay, so zoom out a little bit. Let's start off by creating a rectangle. Remember, the rectangle command is REC. Let's see, it didn't pick that up. REC, enter. 0, 0, enter. And then 17, 11, enter. All right, so we have our rectangle here. Let's go ahead and offset this. So O enter, 0.25, hit enter. Click here and then offset it to the inside. Next, we want to make our paper kind of match our title block here. So what I usually do is do a right click on layout 1, go to page setup manager, wait for the dialog box to appear, hit modify. And then inside of here, I usually use DWG to PDF. I use ANSI full bleed 17 by 11, extents, center it, leave it at 1 to 1, hit OK, and then hit close. Okay, so now I'm ready to bring in my model, right? I do have this base icon here, and also remember that this is also on the layout tab. So you can come to layout, and the base one is located here as well. So I'll go to base from model space. Once again, depending on how fast or slow your computer is, it'll generate what's going on in the background. Now you'll notice that I do have 2 of those drawn in the background. So I'm expecting AutoCAD to bring up 2 of them, right? That's exactly what I'm expecting. Let's see if I'm going to get that. All right, and that is exactly what I get. So remember, I have 2 of them. I'm going to come here and click on model space selection. Hold down the shift button and just do 1 click and put a window around this one. And then I just deselected that one and I have this one, right? So this is the only one that I'm going to show. Go ahead and return the layout. And now I only have 1 of them, right? Okay. Then we can start working on how to adjust the view of this, and we can kind of play around with some of these numbers and see how big or how small it is. This is at a 1 to 1. Let's see if we can get a little bit smaller. Let's see, 3/4. Nah, that should be plenty big for what we need. Let's go ahead and click here. And it should be on the front view, just, you know, by default. So let's go ahead and hit OK. We don't need to create the right side view of this. We're going to actually be cutting a section. So I'm just going to rotate up just a hair, do a little left click there, and then do a right click, hit enter. And you can see that it did create the shapes that I needed, right? Let's go ahead and move this one down. So I'm just going to select here. Let's go ahead and turn the ortho off. And I'm going to place this one sitting right here. Okay. We're going to go ahead and reformat this one a little bit. So I'm just going to click it, go to edit view. And then I want this one to show visible lines only, right? So I can make it either shaded or I can go with visible lines. If I want to kind of mimic what we created in 2D drafting, I'll go ahead and leave it like this. Okay. Let's go ahead and create that section. Easy enough to do a section in this program. I can go to the section. Then it says, go ahead and select the parent view. This is going to be my parent view. And now I need to line this up with something. So I'm just going to come here, kind of track off of here, go up from it, do a left click here, come straight down. Let's go ahead and put that ortho back on just so I make sure that I'm going straight down. That looks good enough for me. Do a left click here and then hit enter. Drag your cursor or your mouse to the right here. Do a left click here and then hit enter. And it should create that shape that we needed, right? So this looks exactly like what we did in the 2D drawing, right? Let me go ahead and kind of slide this view over a little bit, just so I can give myself a little bit more room. You can see that we do have some other benefits from here. It has the scales and things of that nature put on here automatically for us. So this is some of the stuff that we created in the other one. If we want to go ahead and put our center marks on here, and I accidentally hit the help button there, I can go ahead and do that as well. So I can go ahead and use the annotation, go in here and go ahead and put all of those good old center marks and things of that nature that we did before. We can change these center lines here on this one, and I do believe that should be underneath the layout tab here. And here's my section, right? So I'm just going to click on this icon here. It should give me a dialog box. Let's go to modify, and I believe that's the one that tells me to turn off the cutting lines. And let's see, if I click here, yeah, it'll cut them off here. Now I do want it to show the bends just in case it has bends. So I'm going to turn that one on. I'm going to turn off the cutting lines, hit OK, and then hit close. And you can see now that this one kind of updated to what we traditionally see. Just going to do the exact same thing I did on the other drawing. Let's go ahead and put some center marks in between here. So let's go and click on annotative, center marks. Sorry, center lines. Let's zoom into here just because it looks like it doesn't want to select today. Come down to this edge. Let's go ahead and put a center line on this one. And all I'm using is a bisecting one, right? Just selecting those two lines and it's going to create that center line right between them. Okay. Let me go ahead and set up a quick dimensioning and then we should be, about done with this one, right? So just going to type in D, enter. It's going to give me another dialog box. Remember that I'm in layout tab, so it really doesn't matter which one of these I use. If I'm going to use the standard one, which I'm going to use this time, make sure that underneath the fit tab, you leave that number set to 1. All right, so working backwards from the other end, we're going to start our primary units. We'll just go ahead and suppress the trailing zeros. We'll come to the fit. Make sure you leave that number set to 1. Underneath the text height in the drawing, I think we put that at 0.125. I know we turned off the center mark since we just went through all of that and did it. And then underneath the lines, I think I changed the extensions on this one. So the extension beyond this is a little high in my opinion. I usually like to make it 0.125. Okay, go ahead and hit OK and then hit close. And then we can do all of our normal dimensioning, right? So we can use our diameter dimensions. And I can select here. Zoom in a little bit more. I'll just hit the enter button just to save us some time here. I'll go and put that one there. This one up here. This one here. Go ahead and hit the enter button here. I have 2 more to put. So I have one here as well as one here. Okay, let's go ahead and use our radius dimensions next. Just going to put a radius dimension, should be sitting here. The enter button, I got one sitting here as well. And then lastly, all I need to do now is all of my linear dimensions. So let's go ahead and zoom out a little bit. Let's go ahead and change this to linear. I'm going to click on the end point of that center line and that one. That should be sitting at 75, which it is. I may have to move this down. It might be in the way a little bit, but if I need to, I can go ahead and get rid of the word section underneath. So let's go and use a linear dimension. So from here to here. Let's go ahead and place that dimension there. Let's go ahead and do our 31 next. So I'm just going to hit the enter button to take me back to the last command. I want to make sure I get right at that end point there. Otherwise, it may give me another number. It looks like I have enough room. And I'm going to send that 5 to this side. So I'm going to make sure that I click here first and then this endpoint. So if it was going to throw that number, it would throw it on to the right. Let's go ahead and put a couple of more dimensions on here. So from here to here. And then you see how I did that. Now I want to send this one out to the left. So I'm just going to hit the enter button. I'm going to click that endpoint and this endpoint. And then it's going to send that point out to the left there. And then finally, let's do one more dimension here along the top. Okay. And like I said, I can clean this up or do any of that other stuff to it. And it's just simply as deleting that, right? So hopefully you kind of enjoyed working on this one with me. Remember that the next video you're going to see me do is going to be doing this one using Inventor. So if you're an Inventor fan, go ahead and stay tuned for that video. But this one, you know, not bad creating three-dimensional AutoCAD stuff. I hope you enjoyed it. It's kind of one of those dying art programs, but you can definitely do a lot of three-dimensional stuff if you kind of keep the same principles. So when I switch over to Inventor and do this in Inventor, I'm going to try to do them using both methods as well, right? So we can stack on top of each other and do the exact same thing, all right? So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Thank you guys for tuning in. Once again, a big thanks for keep coming back and watching these videos, right? And if you made it this far, I really do appreciate it, all right? So until the next video, thank you for watching.